Let's talk about how bereavement support from hospice agencies has changed and why, if you're a healthcare professional, this matters now more than ever. When hospice bereavement services first started, they followed a pretty standard formula. Think traditional talk therapy, group sessions one size fits all, regardless of the type of loss, culture, or personal history. But the field's come a long way since then. Today, the gold standard is individualization. Modern hospice programs recognize that grief isn't just about death, it's about the loss of health, relationships, roles, even independence, and the future you pictured. Families often juggle multiple overlapping losses, and that means that grief and bereavement support needs to be just as layered. Grief isn't a problem to fix. Grief is a natural process that impacts individuals following a loss. That shift, from seeing grief as pathology to honoring it as a unique journey, has been huge. Many hospice agencies have shifted their bereavement programs to focus on helping people build resilience on their own timeline, replacing the traditional approach of helping move through a fixed checklist of stages. Another significant shift is that hospice agencies aren't just serving their own patients anymore. They're opening their doors to the whole community. Anyone in the community who is experiencing loss can access support, often at no cost. This community-centered approach means more accessibility, more diversity, and more peer support, so nobody has to grieve alone. The more diverse groups also provide richer support experiences for participants. And the how of support? It's more creative than ever. We're seeing expressive arts like painting, music, writing, and drama therapy woven into grief care. Movement matters too. Walking groups, yoga, even dance, because grief lives in the body as much as it does in the mind. Hospice programs also offer specialized groups, like for children, young adults, or people grieving trauma-related losses, such as suicide or overdose. Each approach is tailored, because a child's loss isn't the same as an adult's, and sudden loss is different from a prolonged illness. Tech is making a huge difference. Virtual groups mean distance or mobility challenges aren't barriers anymore. Digital libraries, telehealth counseling, and even social media groups provide round-the-clock support, especially vital for rural areas, folks with packed schedules, and individuals with mobility limitations. Trauma-informed care is front and center too. These approaches begin with screening for trauma history to understand how past experiences may impact current grief. They emphasize creating emotionally and physically safe spaces and make sure participants can set the pace for their own healing. Training staff on cultural sensitivity and trauma impacts is essential, especially for losses involving violence or sudden death. Collaboration is the new normal. Hospice bereavement teams are partnering with hospitals, schools, faith groups, and first responders, embedding grief support where people already are. Professional networks and policy advocacy facilitate sharing of best practices and collective advocacy for improved funding for bereavement care. Bottom line, hospice bereavement care is evolving from a narrow service for a select few into a dynamic, community-driven resource. By embracing innovation, technology, and partnerships, these programs are not just supporting individuals. Instead, they are building community resilience. And as needs change, so will these programs. The future is about integration, accessibility, and honoring every grief journey. Hospices that have transitioned from providing traditional bereavement care to more innovative approaches have demonstrated their commitment to improving outcomes for some of our most vulnerable community members.